Good day and welcome to Breakfast Show on Radio Nigeria, Coal City 929 FM, Enugu, your trusted space for real conversations and practical solutions. I'm your host, Ekene Odiwe. If you've gone to the market recently, paid school fees, or even tried to fuel your car, then you already know times are tough. Prices are rising, incomes are stretched, and many families are asking the same question: how do we survive this? Today, we're not just talking about the problem, we're focusing on practical strategies to cope, adapt, and stay financially afloat, even in difficult economic times. Joining me in the studio is a seasoned expert in finance and public policy, someone who understands both the theory and the real-life implications of economic pressure. Welcome, Professor Paschal Okolie, Professor of Public Finance and Accounting and a Managing Consultant, PIPO Consulting, based in Enugu, former Accountant General and Permanent Secretary, and Special Advisor on Financial Matters, Enugu State, and former Chairman, Forum of Accountants General of Nigeria. It is a pleasure to have you on board, Professor.
Thank you very much for inviting me to this program.
Let us start from the basics. Many Nigerians feel overwhelmed by the current economic situation, but may not fully understand what's driving it. In simple terms, what are the key factors behind the economic pressure people are experiencing today?
Like you said, it is no doubt that many Nigerians are currently overwhelmed by the current economic situation. And there are many factors that is accounting for the situation. You know, when this government started in 2023, it took off with the announcement of the removal of fuel subsidy. And this was later followed with some reforms in the electricity sector, which equally had to do with a removal of certain subsidies that were involved in electricity. All these things compounded the situation of many Nigerians. Another one is the issue of the foreign exchange unification and the floating of the naira. And as we all know, most of the products we use in this country, some of them are imported and they are tied with foreign exchange. And because of that, once there is any volatility in foreign exchange, it affects the prices of the goods and services within the country. It contributed to the challenge Nigerians are having. Another one is the issue of insecurity. As a result, people encounter the issue of kidnapping. We have a lot of uncertainty around those who are in agriculture. People can't go to their farm. And all those things brought about increase in the cost of living. And what worsened it is deficit infrastructure we have in the country. We have power issue, we have water issue, roads are not in good condition. We have a lack of industries that can create jobs. So if you put all those things together, you will see that they have actually overwhelmed Nigerians, and it brought about a very serious, harsh economic situation.
Let us talk about solutions now. Families are adjusting daily, but many are unsure if they are doing the right things. What are the first practical steps every household should take to survive financially in times like this?
As a result of what I've explained already, many families are actually facing terrible challenges because of the economic situation. Many are actually unsure of what they should do and the right steps they should take to survive. But my advice should be around 4 critical areas. One is that families should find a way of prioritizing their expenses. People should now concentrate on facing their needs and not their wants. And there is a difference between needs and wants. Needs are those things that are fundamental to existence, without which you cannot survive. But wants are those things, other things, just kind of just for pleasure, or without them you can survive. For example, water is a need, but to ride jeep is not a need because you can survive without riding a vehicle. Another one is that we should shelve unimportant expenses that are not deemed to be very, very critical. Another one is that people should shelve the idea of embarking on capital projects. Because what is needed right now is to ensure that you feed, maintain your health, just ensure that your daily living is stable. And then you have to only attend critical functions. Probably you have several invitations here and there. There's a high cost of transportation. If you have a vehicle, you need to fuel it. So under this kind of situation, it is not every invitation that you will attend. You have to provide the invitation and ensure that it is critical before you can embark on it. That way, you can find a way of reducing your expenses, and it is a very good survival strategy under the period we have found ourselves.
Some people hear cut costs all the time, but it is not always clear how to do that effectively. Can you share specific, realistic ways families can reduce expenses without compromising their basic quality of life?
Okay, for families, in terms of cutting costs, for families, there are certain steps they need to take because usually it is difficult in this type of situation we have found ourselves. And I will just mention some of them as a way of guiding families. One of them is that before you do anything, you must budget. And you must budget and track your expenses. And one of the things people try to misunderstand, they feel that it is only government that does budget. No, every family, every individual is supposed to do budget. And when we talk of budget, we are not thinking of a big thing. It's a matter of having a piece of paper, listing the items you need, prioritizing them, and then you look at the income flow you have. How much do you have? Another one, you have to learn to manage your subscriptions. For example, your TV and all that, you know how to manage it. And then just buy the package that will be very, very essential. They are graded. And then you know how to manage your data. For those of us that use phone, you may not need to be on your phone 24 hours. There may be a limit within which you will be on your phone to manage your data. You need to manage your electricity by knowing when it should be on and when it should not be on. With this, you pay less in terms of electricity. These are cost-cutting measures you need to adopt. Another one is that you have to avoid debts, or you restructure your existing debts, and then you have to plan your shopping habit. If you are the type that goes for shopping every day, it is no longer like that because things are no longer the same. So you have to moderate how you go shopping and always look at your pocket before you embark on all those. And with this, these are very realistic ways you can reduce your expenses and without compromising the quality of your life.
And on the other side of the coin, what are some simple ways people can increase their incomes, even in a struggling economy?
Thank you. This question is similar to the earlier one I responded to. That is, how can people increase their income? There are several ways, because one can even ask, now that we are already in a very terrible condition, how can you think of even increasing your income? Because things are already hard. So the advice here is that if you're already doing a business or you're in employment, you have to find a way of starting additional business. Probably from the little money you are making, try starting another business. Or you can start maybe cultivating. You go to the village within the weekend and cultivate something that can give you some vegetables and all that. Because over time, you see all those things will help to reduce your expenses and make you use your normal salary to do one or two other things. In other words, there's need to diversify the sources of income. And then another one is that you can sell off redundant assets, things that are not useful in your house. Why keep them? You can sell off them and use the money to do some other thing, or even start a business. You can use your car or your keke or whatever to do little business like Uber or whatever. These are alternatives. And you can earn passive income, and this passive income comes from investment. And because somebody can now ask, how can you even invest in this kind of high situation? That's what we are saying. What we are saying is that even before now, you would have invested, because those who have invested are the people that are surviving this kind of situation. And right now is a lesson. If you have not been investing, it's a lesson for you to know that there's need for you to invest to have a secondary income. So these are some of the tips that can be adopted to ensure some increases in your income to survive the kind of situation we have found ourselves. Thank you.
Many people say there's nothing left to save. Is saving really still realistic in this economy? And if yes, how can people build that habit under pressure?
Yes, some people may actually say there's nothing left to save, but we must recognize the fact that saving is a matter of attitude, because if you don't cultivate the attitude of it, you can't save. Because if you cultivate that attitude, you must find a way of making sure that any earning coming to you, a little part of it should be put somewhere. People will think it is very difficult, but if you have that attitude, you see it is possible. Assuming you are a trader and each day you make 3,000 naira, you can find a way of making it a point of duty every day to drop 500 naira, either in your bank or anywhere. No amount is too small to be saved. You don't need to be a billionaire or a billionaire to save. It is your decision. So in other words, you need to start specific saving arrangement and be consistent with it. For those on salary, you can make a standing order with your bank. Each time you are paid, assuming you are paid 10,000 naira, you can give instruction every month, drop 500 naira out of the 10,000. You discover that anytime you have a challenge, you have a fallback position. And if you are doing it, you must be consistent. And then you consistently adopt the habit of spending less than you earn. This is very important. Find a way of doing it. People will say it is difficult, but you can't just spend what you don't have. Or therefore, you have a plan of how you will get something to augment it. Or alternatively, you try to expand your income sources, just like I have explained earlier, so that you'll be getting little money from other sources.
There is also fear around investments. People don't want to lose what little they have. What safe and practical investment options would you recommend for the average Nigerian right now?
Yes, of course. There are a lot of investment options, because apart from savings, another way of trying to survive harsh economic environment is to invest. And there are several investment options. For example, those that have invested in the past, this is the period they will be reaping the benefit, because the proceeds from that investment will be the things making them to survive under the current situation we have found ourselves. So if you have not invested, this is a lesson, so that if you have opportunity now, you start investing, knowing there are benefits from such investments. And the example of areas that one can invest in is in buying stocks or shares. If you buy shares or stocks from a company, definitely at the appropriate time, they will pay you dividend. So you can engage in farming. The fact that you are working in the township either as an employee does not prevent you from farming. You can get a plot of land for those who have bought it if you don't have your own and farm there. If you have space around your house, you can equally do little farming where you can get some vegetable. If you have land in the village, you can go occasionally and make sure you have a farm. You can even give money. People can farm for you, and then you receive the process. And anytime you get anything from the farm, it will reduce pressure on your normal salary or your normal income. Then another one is that you can invest in federal government bonds. You can buy the bonds and then you're receiving interest. You can adopt the attitude of saving or having a time deposit account, because any money you put in the savings account will be giving you little interest. And then you can start another business outside your normal business. So that you can be getting income from various sources. I've mentioned this in my earlier response. And one other critical thing people make mistake is that we don't invest in our health. You should invest in your health.
This is Breakfast Show on Coal City 99 FM, Radio Nigeria Enugu. And if you're just joining us, we are talking coping with economic pressure, practical survival strategies with Professor Paschal Okolie, Professor of Public Finance and Accounting and Managing Consultant, PIPO Consulting, based in Enugu, former Accountant General, Permanent Secretary and Special Advisor on Financial Matters, Enugu State, and former Chairman, Forum of Accountants General in Nigeria. Remember, you can get to join the conversations on coalcity99fm.net.ng. Back to you, Professor. Beyond the numbers, there is also the psychological pressure, stress, anxiety, even panic spending. How important is mindset in managing economic hardship, and what attitudes should people develop?
Yes, of course. There's no doubt that financial pressure breeds psychological pressure, because if you are not financially balanced, automatically everything about you is disorganized. You undergo a lot of mental stress, anxiety, and all manner of things. It's a reality, and you can't even avoid it completely. But our advice is that you should take certain steps to help yourselves. So one of which is to have a positive mindset. No matter how bad, be positive about it, because going to the extreme cannot solve the problem. So if you have a positive mindset that there will be a better tomorrow, that you are making effort to see if you can still survive, you're equally thinking of how to make things happen around you positively, that will help you. And then don't keep everything to yourself. Talk it out. You can talk with your friend. If you're a married man, you discuss with your wife. Both of you will exchange ideas on how to go about surviving the harsh economy. And again, you have to learn to switch off from money worries. At times you forget about money. It's difficult, but think less of it. Pray. Just do other things that can divert your attention a little, because if you concentrate on that, it will still not be the solution to the problem. Another one, you have to focus on small things you can handle. For example, it will be unfortunate that you don't have money and you are looking at somebody riding a car and thinking that suddenly the car will come. You will be deceiving yourself. Operate within the level you are. Do the little things you can. So another one is that if it worst comes to the worst, please seek the help of a professional if you are having this serious psychological pressure.
Sometimes people make financial mistakes out of desperation. What are common financial traps or poor decisions people should avoid during tough times?
Thank you. This question is very, very important. Actually, a lot of people make terrible financial mistakes out of desperation because they feel they don't have money And because of that, they can put their hands into series of things. That is why I need to offer these few advice to guide our people in this situation. One is that you must avoid gambling, because people have the temptation in situations like this that anything can give them money. So if there's anybody telling them, just do this, if you do this, you become a millionaire, he will go and sell whatever he has to invest in that, only to discover that both the money he has put in and the money he's expecting all has vanished. Another one is to avoid the advice of false prophets. Avoid the advice of false prophets, because most people in this situation will be jumping from one place to the other. Maybe a pastor will tell you, don't worry, your problem is solved. If you probably come and pay tithe or do this and do that, everything will change. Definitely, it may not be the solution. Remember that you must work and earn money. Money don't fly and enter your pocket. St. Paul, I think, who said, if you don't work, you won't eat. So you need to work. So anybody telling you, do one magic and the other, and then money will come, it's not true. Don't make that mistake. Then you must do what we call due diligence before investing. Assuming you want to put it in your money, somebody tells you if you bring 10 naira, it will yield you 1 million naira. You have to suspect it, because almost everybody knows the normal rate determined by the central bank and even within the operating environment. So you have to do due diligence by checking the person offering the investment outlets.
Now on to the bigger picture. Individuals can only do so much. What role should government policies play in easing this economic burden on citizens?
Yes, actually, we have talked a lot about what individuals can do on their own to survive under this situation. There's need now to talk about the role of government. How can government help through its policies to help the citizens? One of them is that the policy of government should be pro-poor. In other words, it should be favorable to the poor. So we're advising government, whatever policy they are turning out, they have to look at how it is affecting the poor, because if you don't do it, you discover that it will compound the situation of the vulnerable citizens. Another one is that government should be able to provide palliatives. I think in the past, government has been doing that, providing palliative to assist the low-income earners. Even though that is happening, but it's not a solution to the problem, because the major solution to the problem should be industrialization, making sure that power is available, curbing insecurity, and then stabilizing the economy so that the little money you have can help you. But in the meantime, government should provide palliative, which I think some of the governments are doing. Then there has to be policies that can reduce cost of health, education, and then there should be need for better infrastructure. So government should make effort, because that's the only way the money paid to the employees can be able to meet up with their basic needs. And then if we have better infrastructure, it will be easy. But a situation where an individual should be a local government unto him or herself is not helping matters. So whatever policies government should be churning out should be such that will address these core areas that will help the less privileged and the low-income earners in the economy.
And based on your experience in public finance, what practical policy changes would you recommend to improve economic stability and support households?
Now, coming to the issue of the practical policy changes that government can adopt, I will have to recommend some of these. One of them is that there should be income stabilization measures. Because if you have an income stabilization measure that can make the economy work better and more stable, it will help. And then specifically government can adopt this cash transfer, which is targeted at the poor. And there is need for government to guarantee food security and then provide food subsidies like this. Currently, we are having this war now that is going on between Iran on the one hand and the US and Israel on the other hand. It has compounded the situation across the globe. The cost of living is off the roof because the supply chain is being affected, especially as it affects oil. So here, there is need for government to start intervening. If you follow up what is happening around, some countries are already providing some subsidies to alleviate the high cost of living across the globe. I think our government should equally be thinking along that line, because nobody knows how long the war is going to last. Then there is need for government to equally ensure availability of housing, then energy, and then financial inclusion. And then government should encourage agriculture, and that can only happen if they are able to address insecurity. So these are the major practical policy changes government can start looking into and addressing seriously to see if we can come out of this quagmire.
This has been very insightful, Professor. Thank you. Before we wrap it up, if you were to give people just 3 key survival tips to hold on to during this period, what would that be?
Thank you. This question is tricky. Having to mention 3 key survival tips which people should hold on to in this period. It's difficult, but be that as it may, let's just hazard 3 possible ones. One of them is that there should be drastic cutting of non-essential expenses / spending. Number 2, you have to diversify your income streams. And then lastly, you adopt the habit of buying things in bulk. Because if you buy things in bulk, you buy it cheaper. Maybe if you earn your salary, just go to the market, buy certain things in bulk and keep. It will take you for some time while you are still looking for other sources of income to survive. On that note, I want to thank you for the opportunity to talk with you. Thank you, and God bless you, and God bless Nigeria.
You've heard it. Practical, actionable strategies that can help you navigate these challenging times. Remember, while the economy may be tough, informed decisions can make a real difference. A big thank you to Professor Paschal Okolie, Professor of Public Finance and Accounting and the Managing Consultant, PIPO Consulting, based in Enugu, former Accountant General and Permanent Secretary and Special Advisor on Financial Matters, Enugu State, and the former Chairman, Forum of Accountants General in Nigeria, for sharing his expertise with us today. To you, our listener, stay resilient, stay informed, and keep making smart choices. Producer has been Jude Obu. The supervisor is General Manager, Coal City 929 FM, Kate Nebo. The Zonal Supervisor is the Deputy Director of Programs, Joy Obitilata, and the Executive Producer is the Zonal Director, FRCN, Enugu Zonal Station, Dr. Ikechukwu Eze. My name is Ekene Odigwe, and this has been Breakfast Show on Coal City 929 FM, Radio Nigeria, Enugu. Good morning.